Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Lutnick, it's great to see you and your family. And I just want to start, I'm representing the state of New Jersey. I remember exactly where I was when I saw the towers come down. And as you were talking, I just spent some time on this hearing actually just kind of counting through of the people we lost in New Jersey, how many were from Cantor Fitzgerald. And if I got my number right, it was over 230 New Jerseyans that worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, which is roughly about a third of the victims of New Jersey. So I just wanted to just express that with you, and people of New Jersey certainly remember that day, will never forget it, and the work that you did and your colleagues did to try to help the victim families. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's still very much in that sense of national security. It was actually on that day that I decided I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to national security issues. And some of the things we talked about today actually, the goal is towards that direction. That's what brought the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act together, was this sense that we're entering a new era of national security concerns. And so I guess, I heard what you said about, chips and science being an excellent down payment, but I guess I'd like to just tease out and get a little bit more of a sense from you, just what you believe our role is in the U.S. government when it comes to building up industries, trying to be competitive. Are you someone that sees a role for government investment directly like we had in chips and science? Or are you somebody that still believes it needs to be more hands-off, more market-driven in that kind of capacity? Can you give me a little insights on how you approach this?
I think you gave the Department of Commerce the tools to bring domestic semiconductor manufacturing home. So I think it needed that jump start, and you, in a bipartisan way, created that jump start. And so I believe it was necessary and important. And you're going to see this Department of Commerce bring domestic manufacturing of semiconductors, and then we're going to drive after that the supply chain to the United States of America, drive it here. We are too reliant on Taiwan. We need to have, for national security and for our business, we need to have that production in America.
I agree with that. I mean, I certainly want to see that manufacturing back, and Senator Budd and others were talking about DeepSeek, other types of concerns that we face beyond just when it comes to semiconductor manufacturing, AI, and other types of technologies. So I guess what I'm trying to think through, being a member of this committee and elsewhere, is is there a 2.0? Is there a 2.0 that we can build upon with chips and science? Have that kind of coalition stay together. And maybe not necessarily specific on chips anymore, but on a different element of critical manufacturing or critical technology innovation. Do you have would that be something you'd be supportive of? Taking that kind of model of chips and science and applying it in a different sector?
I do. I think my job is to give you the benefit of the bargain. You pass chips and science. My job is to bring domestic production of semiconductors home to America. And then we are going to attack the supply chain. So we have the full supply chain so we can be independent from a national security perspective. So if I need help, I'll come and talk to you about that. But first, I need to execute what you have given me, which is chips and science. Let's go get you the benefit of the bargain. I'm not the kind of person to come and ask for more appropriations if we haven't delivered the first time.
Well, I hope this is something that we can work on together if you're confirmed, because I think it's important. On top of that, I mean, look, I will say, you have a job not just selling things to the American people, but I hope as you engage with the president, I'm not positive where he stands on chips and science. I'll be honest with you. With some of what I hear, he calls it a bad deal, called it a ridiculous program. I'm hoping that you and others can try to help engage there and see what it is we can do to try to move this in a different direction. Just one last thing before I conclude here. When you talked about tariffs, you talked about across the board, country by country, but I guess I want to ask you, especially when it comes to country by country, is there a prioritization list? Are you distinguishing between allies and adversaries? Because as I started this question about China being an overarching concern that all of us have, why aren't we prioritizing predominantly, on China, especially when we have to consider whether or not we're going to use multilateral tools when it comes to tariffs that will allow us to magnify our own effectiveness going up against such a large economy like China? which we're going to need our allies and our partners there. But are we burning those bridges if we're putting our tariffs targeting to our allies and our partners at this stage? So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
I think Chinese tariffs should be the highest. Our adversaries should be the highest. But the fact that we Americans cannot sell an American car in Europe is just wrong, and it needs to be fixed. So while they're our ally, they are taking advantage of us, and they are disrespecting us, and I would like to see that end.
I have no problems with that sense of fairness, but I do ask, as we go through this, that we keep in mind just the tremendous threat that we're under right now in terms of our economic national security. And with that, I'll yield back to